Culture Club is brought to you by Tropical Ice, the purest, cleanest ice in Guam.
This poem is called Oruna Cadena. Home is gold bracelets, the sound of precious metal bouncing against another, shining atop rich brown skin, an image of Manamku women decorated in 7-day bangles from thin of wrist to elbow. A Magodai feeling of husbuk babies adorned in tiny bamboo bands, rolls pouring over their sides. A memory of rummaging in Mama's jewelry box until she catches me, hands over a red velvet case housing Ima's Oruna Cadena, and says, "Your grandma gifted me with this. Wear it with care." So when I am mahaling, yearning for my island, I clench my fist to make Nana's gold bracelet fit tighter on my hand, as if home themselves is giving me a firm hug, a remembering embrace. My name is Ha'ani San Nicolas. I was born and raised in Guahan in the village of Mangmang. I currently live in Oahu, the land of Kanakamali, the Native Hawaiians. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Indigenous Politics program here, and I'm also a graduate advanced degree student in the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies department as well. I'm a poet. I'm an activist. I organize with Famalawan Rights and IHAG and Famalawan Guahan, so very women-driven causes. And yeah, those are my ties to Guam, and I hope to go back soon, hopefully in December. I started taking my poetry more seriously about 2 years ago, and it was at the point when I just first moved to Oahu, and I found a lot of comfort in writing. And I had journaled before when I was going through, hardships or struggling to understand certain experiences in my life, and I always found a place in writing. So I wrote this piece around the time I first moved to Oahu, and I was having a really difficult transition, not only because of the distance from home, but also it was in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So I was feeling more isolated than ever. And every time I write, every time I do something, my bangle from my grandma that my mom gave me would make a sound. And I usually wear it with other jewelry, but then, it really reminded me of home, and I wanted to pay homage to that and also the Famalawan from back home. And that was the inspiration behind this poem. One of my favorite poets is Audre Lorde. She's a Black radical feminist, and she wrote a while ago that there's no such thing as new ideas, there's only new ways of making them known. So sometimes I don't find myself, and I think a lot of Chamorros and especially women can't locate ourselves in certain poetry, certain literature, especially because it's such a white male dominated field. So I find that, writing and conveying these feelings also makes me feel better. And also when I do share it, people resonate and relate with it. So that's why I've really leaned on poetry these past few years. Like many families back home, I was raised by a bunch of strong women. I'm Samoan and Chamorro, so on both sides, I have really strong matrilineal roots. So that's one source of inspiration I have. I went to an all-girls high school, and I always find really strong connections with other women, especially, Pacific Islanders, Indigenous women, Black women, other POC. So that's one source of inspiration that I have. Another one is my family and my partner. I think, love is such an overrated, sometimes cliche, but it's really important to lean into those emotions and connecting back home, especially being in the diaspora right now. And then also, Hawaii is still kind of dealing with the pandemic, and we're still isolated. So just kind of touching upon those feelings and connections back home is really important to me and to my poetry. I have an Instagram account right now. I'm just focused on my poetry. It's called Pacific Daughter Poetics, and I'm trying to keep it as up to date as I can. But that's where some of my published work goes, along with other things I've written, because I also do academic writing. So those are a little bit two different fields. But I also recently had a poem shared on the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day series, which also features other Chamorro poets as well, like Ariel Lowe and Craig Santos Perez, and that's available online. And then also, if you just Google my name, I think some other poetic pieces will pop up as well.
Culture Club is brought to you by Tropical Ice, the purest, cleanest ice in Guam.